Before diving into this incredible story, remember to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, every story has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. Night was falling on the upscale Lakeview neighborhood of Chicago. Streetlights cast an orange glow on the cobblestone streets, and cars drove by slowly, their headlights casting dancing shadows on the facades of the houses. Monica Johnson, a black woman in her 30s, had just finished a long day at her design firm. She had parked her luxury car in front of her house and was taking a moment to breathe in the cool evening air. Without warning, a siren shattered the silence, and a police car screeched to a halt behind her. Detective Ryan Whitman, known throughout the precinct for his arrogance and racial prejudices, stepped out of his car with an authoritative gait. His eyes fixed on Monica as if she represented an invisible threat to him. "You think you can drive here without being checked?" he snapped, his voice harsh and full of suspicion. Monica raised her hands, surprised but determined. "All my paperwork is in order, Inspector. I haven't done anything wrong." Whitman didn't listen to her. His face hardened, and without warning, he shoved her against the hood of his car, making her stagger. Anger surged through Monica, but instead of giving in to fear, she felt a fire ignite within her, the fire of dignity and justice. Around them, neighbors came out of their houses, shocked. Some were taking pictures, others were calling 911. Monica, despite the pain and humiliation, took out her phone and began recording. She knew this moment had to be documented, that her voice had to be heard, that the silence imposed by injustice had to be broken. That evening, on that quiet street, an act of violence would trigger a chain of events no one could have imagined. The determination of a single woman would shake the arrogance of a system and inspire an entire community. Monica Johnson would no longer simply observe the world. She would confront it. Monica Johnson felt her heart pound as Detective Ryan Whitman held her against the hood of his car. The cold metal bit into her skin, but it was nothing compared to the humiliation that washed over her. Neighbors crept tentatively out of their homes, their expressions a mixture of curiosity and concern. "Back off, I tell you," cried Monica, trying to free herself. "Shut up and obey," replied Whitman, his voice echoing like a hammer on the deserted asphalt. She felt anger boiling inside her. Every racist word, every unspoken prejudice she had encountered her entire life condensed into that moment. She clenched her fists, but instead of retaliating physically, she pulled out her phone and began filming. The lights of the houses reflected on the screen, capturing every movement, every expression. Whitman, frustrated by her apparent composure, kicked the car to intimidate her further. But Monica did not yield. Her eyes were steady, cold, and determined. She knew that true power lay not in physical strength, but in truth and courage. Then a voice rose up behind him. "Whitman." It was David Reynolds, a lawyer and longtime friend of Monica's, who had arrived after she managed to send him an urgent message. Tall, imposing but calm, David stepped forward confidently. Whitman tried to explain himself, but David cut him off. "Leave her alone. You're abusing your power." Under David's piercing gaze and Monica's ever-present camera, Whitman stepped back slightly, realizing that this scene was about to be seen by far more than just a few curious neighbors. Monica straightened slowly, each movement imbued with dignity despite the pain in her arms and shoulders. "You see?" Monica said, her voice firm but controlled. "I haven't done anything wrong. And you're being filmed." Whitman looked away, furious and embarrassed, but unable to deny what had just happened. Sirens wailed further down the street, announcing the arrival of other officers who, this time, carried not weapons of arrogance but rules to be followed. David placed a reassuring hand on Monica's shoulder. "You were incredible, Monica. Now let's go home. We're going to make sure justice is served." And so it was that, in this silent street, witness to too many injustices, Monica Johnson went from being an apparent victim to a symbol of resilience and resistance. That night, she broke the silence. And it was only the beginning. The next morning, Monica Johnson woke up with aching shoulders, but her mind was sharp and determined. The previous night had marked a turning point. she was no longer just an isolated victim, she had become the witness and spokesperson for an injustice that many were trying to hide. David Reynolds was waiting for him outside his building with his computer and a stack of files. "Monica, we're not going to let Whitman get away with this. We have the video, the witnesses, and I know the right people to file a complaint." Monica nodded. She knew this fight would be difficult. Prejudice and police bureaucracy didn't disappear easily, but she felt a new energy coursing through her. Together, they devised a strategy: contact local media, alert civil rights organizations, and organize the collection of testimonies from neighbors and passers-by who had witnessed the incident. By noon, the video had gone viral. On social media, users expressed their support for Monica and denounced Whitman's arrogance and brutality. The hashtags #JusticeForMonica and #StopPoliceRacism quickly spread, attracting the attention of journalists and activists. Monica also received a flood of messages from strangers. Some shared their own experiences of discrimination, others offered their help to amplify her voice. She understood that her struggle went beyond herself. She represented all Black women facing injustice and systematic contempt. In David's office, the calls kept coming in. Lawyers, reporters, and activists took turns preparing the case. David advised Monica on how to remain calm in the face of the media and the police. "Your dignity is your most powerful weapon," he told her. "Every word you speak, every gesture you make must reflect that you are morally unassailable." A few days later, Monica found herself in front of the police station to officially file the complaint against Whitman. The air was thick with tension. Protesters who had come to support Monica held up signs and chanted her name. Some police officers watched the scene, torn between discipline and the shame of their past inaction. Inside, Whitman, visibly on the defensive, tried to justify his actions to his superiors. But the video, the crowd, and the overwhelming support for Monica rendered his apologies futile. His superiors were forced to suspend him pending the investigation, and word of the affair began to spread throughout the department. Monica left the police station, her face proud, her gaze direct. She sensed that the legal battle was only just beginning, but she was ready. What she had started that night with a simple phone and quiet courage was about to become a movement. And as the sun set over Chicago, Monica vowed that the voice they had tried to silence would never be stifled. News of the attack on Monica Johnson quickly spread beyond the Lakeview neighborhood. Social media erupted, local newspapers covered the story, and even national news networks began to take notice. Monica, initially intimidated by the sheer volume of attention, soon realized that her situation could become a symbol of justice and resistance. David Reynolds, at her side, organized a press conference. In front of microphones and cameras, Monica spoke publicly for the first time. Her face showed signs of fatigue, but her gaze reflected unwavering determination. "What happened to me is not an isolated incident," she declared. "It represents a systemic problem that we must confront. We can no longer turn a blind eye to the brutality and racism that persist in our streets, in our institutions, and sometimes even among those who are supposed to protect us." The room was silent, hanging on every word. Journalists scribbled frantically, cameras recorded, and Monica felt a wave of support rising from the audience. Civil rights organizations contacted her to organize peaceful marches and awareness campaigns. Meanwhile, at the police department, Whitman found himself isolated. His colleagues whispered, some shocked by his actions, others terrified by the media attention. Even his superiors, bound by protocol, understood that this matter went far beyond a simple internal complaint. Monica and David decided not to limit themselves to legal action. They mobilized the local community, neighborhood meetings, showing the video of the incident in schools and community organizations, and raising awareness about civil rights. Every bit of support they received strengthened Monica, transforming her initial anger and humiliation into a powerful collective energy. One evening, as she was returning home from a public meeting, Monica noticed a crowd gathered in front of her building. Neighbors, journalists, and activists were holding signs, "Justice for Monica. Stop police racism." She was overcome with emotion. She was no longer alone. She now represented a voice, a force capable of changing things. This mobilization, however, also provoked resistance. Whitman, arrogant despite his suspension, hired a lawyer to contest the complaint and tried to discredit Monica. But each attack strengthened Monica's resolve. Her dignity and her truth were stronger than lies and fear. At the end of the chapter, Monica stood on her apartment balcony, watching the illuminated city. The streetlights seemed to echo the struggle she was going through. She knew the road ahead would be long, but for the first time, she felt she wasn't just fighting for herself. She was fighting for everyone they had tried to silence. The following weeks were a whirlwind for Monica Johnson. Every hearing, every press conference, every media interview confronted her with the reality of her fight. Racism and brutality didn't disappear easily. But she was ready. Her determination had become her greatest weapon, and she knew the world was watching. On the day of the final hearing, the Chicago courtroom was packed. Journalists, activists, and community members were there to support Monica. Whitman, in a dark suit, entered with his lawyer, trying to maintain a confident appearance, but his arrogance seemed to crumble under the pressure and the overwhelming evidence against him. Monica spoke, calm and composed. "What you see today goes beyond me. It is the voice of all those who have been humiliated, beaten, silenced. We demand that justice be done, not only for me, but for all those who have been victims of abuse of power." The video, the neighbors' testimonies, and the evidence presented by David Reynolds were overwhelming. Whitman tried to defend himself, but every word fell flat in the face of the undeniable truth. The judge, an upright man named Jonathan Hayes, spoke gravely. "Detective Whitman, your actions violate not only the law, but also the fundamental principles of justice and human dignity. You are suspended for life, and a criminal investigation has been opened against you." The murmur in the room turned into applause. Monica felt a wave of relief and pride wash over her. This moment signified not only her personal victory, but a clear message to all those who abused their power: injustice would not go unpunished. Outside, the crowd that had been waiting for her celebrated with her. Signs held aloft in the sunlight seemed to be writing a new chapter for the community. Social media exploded with messages of support and admiration. Monica realized that her voice had created a far greater impact than she had ever imagined. Later that evening, as she was returning home, Monica received an unexpected call. It was Marcus Evans, the department captain, black and respected for his integrity. "Monica, I wanted to tell you personally that your courage has changed our perspective. You have inspired many of our officers to question themselves and stand up for what is right." Monica smiled, moved but serene. Her life had been turned upside down, but she had transformed the pain into strength. She knew that the fight for justice never ended, but that night, she had won a victory that would resonate for a long time. And as she watched the city from her balcony, the lights of Chicago seemed to reflect her own inner light, bright, unwavering, and ready to keep shining for those who had not yet found their voice.